Hi, my name is Matt Kosterman. I'm a 56-year-old white guy living in Chicago, Illinois. For the first 50 plus years of my life, I didn't think I was allowed to be here. Not just here in Chicago, but here, on Earth, in a body. I suffered from depression for most of my life. I smoked my first joint at age 11 and had my first drink of Southern Comfort straight from the bottle at age 13. While the cannabis never really took hold as an addiction, I drank alcohol for the next 20 years, many times to excess. In 1998, I began psychotherapy, and in the year 2000, I started on antidepressants. I spent 12 years on them and 15 years in traditional talk therapy. Meanwhile, I built a successful business, became a father to 2 amazing girls, and rehabbed an old house in a nice suburb. I did all the things. In 2010, I went through divorce, foreclosure, and bankruptcy. Fun times. After much flailing about, I got my head on straight in 2015, only to begin experiencing severe chronic pelvic pain along with fibromyalgia. I spent nearly 3 years in the Western medical system trying desperately to heal. In 2018, out of money and out of patience, my healing journey really kicked into gear after my first magic mushroom trip. The years since have been an amazing and challenging ride. I've traversed the physical and not-so-physical worlds and been fortunate to work with many, many talented healers. As a result of all my efforts, I now find myself in a place of receiving, contentment, and prosperity, the likes of which had eluded me for most of my life. There's a man named Daryl Anka who channels a being called Bashar. Bashar describes the process of engaging with a healer, that of giving yourself what is essentially a permission slip to move towards wholeness, healing, and right relationship. This podcast is an effort to share some of what I've learned and introduce you to some of the people and ways that literally gave me what feels like my permission slip for existence. It's also an effort to continue to spread the word that the traditional Western medical system, while effective for a great many things, is not necessarily the be-all, end-all solution to every health problem, especially when the problem may be more spiritual than it is physical, as it was in my case. Thanks for joining me. I hope you enjoy it. Please like, subscribe, and do all the social media things that help spread the word. Share these links with people directly in your community. It is my sincere hope that you and others will benefit from my experiences. Hi, welcome back to The Permission Slip. I'm Matt Kosterman, and I'm here today with Jessica Brown, who's joining me from beautiful Marin, California. Jessica is a clinical nutritionist, an author of 2 books now. Is that right?
2 books,
2 books, a compassion educator, and a Noetic field practitioner. So welcome, Jessica.
Hi.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, Matt. Good to see you.
It's good to see you. So a little history. Jessica and I go back all the way to Clearwater, Florida, where she was a little freshman friend of my sister, who was a freshman in high school. And she and her twin sister were friends with Abby, my sister. And Jessica and I got back in touch, maybe 5 or 6 years ago during my journey. My sister recommended that I reach out to her and to see if she could help me, and she did in a number of ways. So I wanted to have her on the show to expose others to the beautiful work that she does, and get an even deeper dive, because we haven't been in touch a ton recently, and I know she's done a lot since we've been together. So again, thanks for being here, Jessica.
Hi, Matt. Thanks for having me. Yes, old friends.
Old friends.
Doing new stuff.
Yeah, not that old, though. Not that old. So, just give us a little bit of your background and how you grew up. I like to give people a little bit of a grounding and a little bit of a, I think I used to have this sense that anybody who was in a role of helping others, let's say, or this kind of role, I had this sense that they had like a perfect life, and they like doctors and therapists and nutritionists and body workers, and they went, they had this perfect life and everything was roses, and I find that that's not usually the case the older that I get. So,
truly.
So tell us what got you on this path of doing all these beautiful things for people.
I think it was a series of events. Growing up, you know, growing up in Florida is its own unique path. And I was a parent. I'm an identical twin. So I have a twin, and that is its own wonderful path. Um, that we have stayed in close touch, and she's very close. We're very close. But grew up in Florida. Was the product of divorced parents. My mother chose not to raise us. They each have their own story about why she didn't. I just don't think she was really capable of it. And so that created the first heartbreak in my life, was feeling that I wasn't good enough for my mom to want to parent. And my parents were very different. My father was physically abusive. He beat us, verbally abusive. And then my mother just sort of just not capable of a lot, even though she had jobs and relationships. And so I sort of had parents on different ends of the spectrum, and I did not really know where I should have landed, because there was a lot of push and pull. But the main thing was, as confused as I was when they got divorced when I was 6, was I felt like I was a throwaway child, that started the deep-seated beliefs that have shaped my professional path, because of my own personal struggle, which was, I'm not lovable. Something is wrong with me. I was made wrong. Everybody else was made right. And I have to do a lot to convince people that nothing was really broken inside of me. And I think that was the big thing, was I quickly figured out that if I can just convince people I'm not broken, then I'll be okay. Mm-hmm. And so that, fast forward to my first marriage, that was the main reason why I feel like we got married, was I decided I found a person who could convince me I was lovable. Mm. And of course, that never works, because the universe is incredibly intelligent and always gives us what we need. Yeah. And so there were, so that was my first marriage, and lots of things along the way. Found my spiritual teacher through my own struggle, and had my spiritual journey and my personal journey. And then also, I would say, sort of like my clinical practice and the things that I do clinical as a clinical nutritionist, and sometimes they overlap and sometimes they don't. So in some ways, I wear different hats. I do clinical nutrition. I help people with stool tests. I help them with supplements. And then there's the other piece, which is the work that I feel like is really valuable. Not everybody wants to do it, which is the inner work. So, yeah, we can probably dissect that a little bit more as we go along in our conversation.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, that it resonates a lot. I had similar parental issues, although not quite to the extreme, but very different personalities. And very young parents. I think yours were very young as well when they had you, or no?
Yes, my mom was 23. Yeah. Didn't know she was having twins, and my father was 25.
Yeah, mine were 20, just to turn 22. So I think back to when I was 22, and the fact that they even managed to raise 3 humans is sort of a miracle, right?
True. Very true.
Although there are a lot of forces helping along the way. You find out later.
And it was a different world back then too. Mm-hmm. 22-year-olds aren't maybe in the position that our parents were when they were 22. They just aren't thrown into the world the way a lot of young people were that are our parents' age.
Yeah.
So.
And my parents were both a product of World War II veterans. One, with serious combat in the South Pacific for 4 years, and then never spoke of it for the rest of his life, pretty much.
Wow.
Yeah, literally was on.
Can you imagine?
He was on Tinian. He was on the island where they launched the Enola Gay from, as a Marine, doing hand-to-hand combat with the Japanese. And
wow.
Yeah, and he came home for leave in San Francisco Harbor. They dropped anchor. There wasn't a port available, a berth available, so they all jumped off the boat, swam to shore. They were so happy to be in America. he went back to Wisconsin to visit my grandmother, who wasn't my grandmother yet, wasn't even his wife, went to visit her. And they, unbeknownst to him, the plans, they dropped the bombs, the war was over, and he never went back, and he never spoke of it again. Got married and raised 3 kids.
Wow.
So yeah, a very different world. And yet we're in this world today with all kinds of transformation and healing available to us. So, which I'm grateful. And those things I feel now have shaped, the trials and tribulations obviously shape us. So you went to school, you went to UF, to Gainesville? Did you go to Florida?
No, I went to school in Illinois.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Where'd you go?
Eastern Illinois.
Eastern, that's right.
Yeah. I loved Florida so much that I left the day after I graduated high school.
Did your sister leave too?
So she left too. She went to University of Alabama for a year and then went to Ohio State.
Okay. So you went to Eastern. So yeah, not far away from me. And did you get set on the clinical path then? Did you get interested in nutrition right away?
I got a degree in environmental biology, and I became interested in nutrition just sort of like I was the girl that all my friends came to when they had a urinary tract infection and, just stomach aches. I was just sort of always interested in natural medicine, homeopathy. And then when I graduated, decided to go to Bastyr. I was at Bastyr for a year in Seattle. And then actually had sort of like a medical crisis. And so I dropped out of Bastyr and then moved to Chicago.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. I don't think we ever talked about what my medical crisis is. I've never really talked about it publicly.
No.
Because it sort of shaped a lot of how it really forced me to begin the journey of looking at my longstanding anxiety and belief system that was really holding back the connection with me trusting myself, essentially.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, always looking for that external validation.
Always.
Yeah.
Not anymore, but
no. In
before.
The past. Yeah. So you ended up in Chicago, and then you finished your degree work here?
Yeah, I became a clinical nutritionist through the International and American Association of Clinical Nutritionists, and just started working with different doctors in Chicago and health clinics practicing nutrition. And then moved to Nevada City, California, when I was 28, I think. And then met my husband, who's now my ex-husband, and settled down and built a family and a life there.
Yeah, cool. So you had children with him?
I did. I had one daughter,
yeah.
My daughter May.
Okay.
May, with him, and then we ended up getting divorced after 10 years. Moved to the Bay Area, and now I'm married to my current husband, Derek, and he has 3 girls, and I have 1. So we're a nice big blended family now.
Beautiful. So, so the catalyst for healing yourself was this medical crisis, and that's what. So you don't have to describe the crisis, but did you try the medical community? Like, was it a doctor thing, and then you realized it wasn't a doctor thing?
It's a funny story. My friend and I had gone back to Christmas break, and I was in grad school, so I had transitioned from my college life. But when we went back before Christmas break, we partied and smoked pot. And so I remember, like, I was in the car and super hungover, had smoked pot the night before. And my friend was talking to me. She was driving me to my mom's house in St. Louis. And all of a sudden, she just stopped making sense. Like, it was almost like the Peanuts cartoon. She was talking to me and it was like, wah, 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 wah. And I was like, oh my God, I can't understand what my friend is saying. What's happening?
Wow.
And what ended up happening was I suffered from depersonalization and derealization from marijuana. which that wasn't even termed back then. Back when I experienced it, I just thought I was having a nervous breakdown. And so I became instantly agoraphobic and almost like being in a constant state of a panic attack, for almost a year.
Wow.
And went home, and my dad tried to help me as much as he could. But nobody knew what it was. And so it was either hide how severe it was that was happening to me, or go into a mental hospital. So I went back to Seattle to grad school, flew on a plane, got back home, couldn't drive, couldn't go out in public. I don't like that, ended up needing to drop out of school.
Yeah.
But I remember so clearly that was when I got my first energy healer. Who actually understood what was happening to me. Nobody could put it in the context. I went to numerous doctors and they said, nothing is wrong with you.
Right.
They ran blood tests, psychiatrists just want to drug you up,
Yeah.
and I didn't want that. I wanted to understand what was happening. I thought I was having a Kundalini awakening.
Okay.
Because when I went to the bookstore, that was the only thing that could describe a lot of the symptoms that I was having.
Yeah.
But when I went back to Seattle, I remember I was so desperate, Matt, that I called in a talk radio show that had a psychic, and the psychic was talking, and I listened to her talk, and I thought, oh my God, the psychic is going to be able to tell me what is happening to me, because nobody else can tell me. And so I ended up calling her and leaving her a message on her private answering machine. And she called me back, and I will never forget, she left me a message, and she just said, I so appreciate you telling me what's wrong with you. And I can just tell by listening to your voice that what you have isn't serious enough for what I do.
Oh.
So I can't help you. And I was really relieved to hear that, my world wasn't falling apart, because the psychic said it wasn't. And she said, I don't work with people who are having your situation, but I have somebody who can.
Okay.
And her name is Lynn. And so I called Lynn up the next day, and I went to go see her. And she described to me what she does as people transitioning who are dying. So she would work in hospices and hospitals, helping people who are crossing over in the death process.
Doula.
And she said, I know exactly what's happening to you, and I can help you.
Wow.
And so she said, you had a crack in your cosmic egg. You can never do drugs again. If you do, you will blow out all your energy centers. And she showed me how to live with the depersonalization and derealization.
Wow.
Through exercises, visualizations, meditations, and then her doing energy work to sort of repair my aura from the big blowout.
How much weed did you smoke?
Not a lot.
Wasn't a lot. Wow. Regularly, though? It was regular, like daily?
No. I mean, I did it, in college, recreationally.
Okay.
But no, it was just a moment on my path.
Yeah.
That really defined what I was able to do and not do.
Sure. Yeah, yeah. Amazing. Wow. So and how long did that process take to kind of get to put the egg back together? To put Humpty together again?
Yeah.
Yeah, years.
Anybody who's experienced depersonalization or derealization understands that any moment that they have something shocking or really anxiety provoking, it carries them right to the edge of going back into it.
Okay.
And so I just have developed skills over time to work with it. And now I have a very deep understanding, lots of compassion for other people who have had those kinds of experiences.
Yeah, I imagine. And so Kundalini was not involved, according to the Lynn? Was there a Kundalini element to it?
I can't even remember now.
Okay.
Like at this point, those kinds of shimmery experiences don't even matter to me anymore. Like,
Yep.
I don't even care if I actually had a Kundalini awakening. I just wanted to be able to live in a body and walk around.
Yeah, for sure. Right.
Yeah, but I did start to realize through that process that as a child, I would spontaneously leave my body
Okay.
and I would get visual perception changes. And I also didn't understand what that meant in the context of the depersonalization and derealization. And so I'd be walking down the street and all of a sudden I would go out of my body and I would have extreme visual changes. And so I didn't know how to live in a body again and have those changes happen.
Yeah.
And so over the years, I've slowly built up ways to work with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Amazing. Amazing. And so through the nutrition work and the work with the medium, with Lynn, so tell us then, so that how did this lead into the Noetic path, the compassion path?
When I was living in Nevada City, married with a baby, my sister, who lived in San Francisco, started working with a person who did energy work. And I had such a great experience working with somebody who did energy work to help me put myself back together again, that my sister started seeing this woman doing energy work. And so I started to see her doing energy work and, either in person or distance. And I finally just said, how did you learn this? Like, I want to do this too. And she said, I work with a teacher. His name is Dr. Robert Waterman, and he started a psychology school in Santa Fe, but he works spiritually as well with a lot of the students from the psychology school. And so I reached out, and my sister and I both reached out, and he does mystery schools. And so I signed up, having never met him before, and did mystery school with him, and have been a student of his now for over 20 years.
Amazing. So he's still teaching.
He's still teaching. He does not teach at the university level anymore. Maybe he does. Maybe he teaches a class or two.
Mm-hmm.
But in addition to starting the Southwestern School in Santa Fe, he also teaches people how to become Noetic field practitioners. And so I did his mystery school, have done all of his trainings multiple times, just attend as many things that he does as much as possible because it's helped my professional career so much. And then also did the Noetic field practitioner training program, which took a few years.
Yeah, so tell us, because I know a bit of, I was in a bit of a Noetic program for a minute, but tell us about what is a Noetic field practitioner.
So the basis of Noetic field therapy is that everything that sort of ails us is within arm's reach. And that when we either have hard things happen to us or we develop belief systems to stay safe, those things, those beliefs create frequencies that sit in our auric field, and that we have different layers of our auric field. And the field, the actual practice of balancing is coming together in a divine way with the person that I'm working with and helping them understand what it is that they believe that's sitting in their auric field that is blocking them from something that is important for them in their life, an understanding, a deeper connection. And that all of these things are here to help us remember our wholeness or our holiness. And so it is essentially helping people understand what it is that they believe so that then they can forgive themselves for believing it, and clear the frequencies that are sitting in their auric field.
Okay. Amazing.
Through the power of their own heart.
Their own heart, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is done through compassionate inquiry?
Yes.
Essentially?
Compassionate inquiry.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So
yeah.
And how do you differentiate that from therapy? Just for the lay person?
Yeah. Some therapists work in the heart-centered space, but a lot of therapy is built upon what the mind believes and working on the mind. This is working on what the heart believes. The essence of a lot of this is that all of us go through experiences where something really challenging or difficult happens to us. And when a challenging experience happens to us, we turn away from our own loving as a resource. Oh, my father beat me. I must not be lovable.
Yeah.
And see, so what is the truth? The truth is your dad did beat you. What is it true though that you're not lovable? No, that's not true. But in order for us to make sense of tragedies that go on in our life, we take hard things and we decide things about our lovability. And when we do that, that creates a frequency that sits out in our auric field. Because it is decided as from a heart space, then the heart is the only thing that can challenge it, clear it, release it to bring us back into our holiness or our wholeness. That is not the mind that does that, although the mind is incredibly important to the process, because the mind backs up what the heart believes. And so this is where I'd say what I do is really the root cause of a lot of things that mental challenges. That isn't to say that I don't really appreciate therapy and really appreciate therapists, because I definitely do. And there's a place for all of this for everybody.
Yeah.
It's just a little bit more of a different work that comes a little bit more into our holiness and our divinity.
Yeah, yeah. Because ultimately we are all love, which means
Ultimately, we are. Yeah.
we are lovable if we are love.
So a lot of times when we have a lot of traumas, we forget that.
Yeah.
So we have one layer forgetting it. Oh, my father beat me. I must not be lovable. That's one layer of forgetting that we're love, or forgetting our holiness. And then we have another one. Oh, my husband cheated on me and left me. I really must not be lovable. And so we have all these things sort of stacked up against us.
Yeah. And then they reinforce one another and call more experiences of the same. I mean,
until we remember.
Yeah. Who we are.
Yeah.
I mean, because I think you see very often, people who were abused by their parents who didn't think they were lovable, then they go find somebody who reinforces that they're not lovable. You see it. I've seen it in people whose, their father cheated on their mother repeatedly. And so then they marry somebody who is very safe, but, they'll never leave them. They'll never cheat on them. But maybe there's a whole bunch of other things that come with that reinforce the belief system. So go ahead.
Yeah. And I actually thank my ex-husband for this now, because he had the courage to break the marriage up, and I didn't. I would have stayed in that safe place forever. And I owe a lot of thanks to him for doing it. It was a very uncomfortable process we had to go through. But for me, the crystallization was so heavy that I probably would have stayed there doing that, because I didn't think I was really worth anything else. But he had the courage to kind of step out and break up that crystallization, that helped break up the crystallization that was inside of me, that really helped me understand this entire process that we're talking about here today.
Yeah. Beautiful. So the process of somebody engaging with you, what does it look like? Is it the therapist's couch? Are you talking? Are you actually doing energy work? Are you, what does it look like for somebody who might be
If I'm doing it in person, they're on a table and I use a pendulum. And if they're not in person, then it's conversational. And a lot of times it's people just telling their story.
Yeah.
Tell me about a time that you felt afraid, alone, or abandoned. Because people know where their own blocks are, even if they're unconscious of them. And so we just started conversation. And most people come to me because they have something specific they want to work on. And I've been doing this for a while. And so I am pretty good at helping people come to understand what it is that they believe, just by a very warm, loving, compassionate inquiry.
Okay.
And then helping people see how that belief is sitting in their life, and then helping them believe that the power of their own heart can release the belief.
Okay.
And sometimes it takes a while. Sometimes it's multi-layered.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like complex systems. Sometimes, it's like big topics like, oh, I can't ever feel fulfilled in my career. Sometimes there's big topics that might have many layers to them.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's easy to clear it. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer.
And so the stories I think you described earlier, because I'm familiar with, the idea primarily through the landmark curriculum that I went through, but there's a thing happened, right? Something happened to us, because things are always happening to us, and then we create a story about what happened.
Yes.
And so the differentiation here, so the story exists mentally and in the heart space and in the auric field. Essentially, the energy of that story, is that how could you describe it as such? The energy of the story,
Yeah.
is clogging up the auric field.
That's a good way to look at it. Yes. A lot of times these things are conscious. So, for instance, we go through something like maybe we're in a store that gets robbed, right? So that's really traumatic. And when I'm just making that up.
Sure.
We're in a store and the store gets robbed, and we think to ourselves, "Oh my gosh, I'm not safe. I'm a person who isn't safe." That's conscious. When we don't do anything with it and we don't clear up that misconception, then it goes into the unconscious.
Okay.
And then it becomes the template, or what I call like the internal law of our life, until we go and change it. The power of the heart is so strong, it doesn't matter if it's conscious or unconscious. That's where the mind can be really limited, because sometimes we can't remember or get in touch with things that are unconscious. But I have found that the power of the heart guides us to exactly where we need to be, to tap into where the belief is held in the unconscious, sitting in the auric field.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, beautiful. So, yeah, because the heart is the ultimate connection to the divine. I mean, it's the
primary connection.
The primary.
Correct.
The head, the mind is as well, but the heart is that's where everything comes in.
Yes, and the physical body is really dense,
right.
And the mental body is not as dense as the physical, but the heart connection or the soul connection, is faster than the speed of light.
Yeah.
So when we look at where do we want to hone into those places?
And the field, yeah, and the heart field extends for, what is it, 8 or 10 or 12 feet? The electrical field generated by the heart beyond the body.
I know heart math sort of says it like that. I would say as far as your arms can reach.
Okay, as far as your arms is the auric field.
Yes.
And this is also the energetic field, or separate from the energetic field? Or I'm sorry. There's the physical body, the emotional body, the auric body, and the energy body, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, yes. And the way that I was taught, it's there's emotional, causal, mental, astral, soul. And so there's different levels, and all of those different levels have a specific kind of curriculum, and they can all hold the densities of the belief systems as well.
Okay. Yeah,
and actually, and one of the big ones that I see too are drugs. And so, when we have, when I work with people, for instance, who are chronic marijuana smokers or do any drugs chronically, that can also sit in the auric field as well and cause blockages.
Okay. And are you so through the pendulum, and you're using the pendulum to read the chakras in the field, essentially?
Yes.
Yeah. And then are you also...
Sorry, I didn't say that correct. Good intuition.
No, that's yes. Okay. I mean, I've worked with...
So I put the pendulum over the different energy centers on the body.
Right.
And it is really helpful to see if it cleared when somebody's working on something that's in their curriculum.
Okay.
A belief system.
And so a session, what does a session looks like? You might do multiples per week, or it's weekly, or they're an hour. What does it look like?
So I do work for an hour, and I do recommend that people do no more than one session a week to let everything sort of settle in. And then some people need more time and more work and more help. They just love the connection. They like talking.
Yeah.
It's a real personal thing. I don't, I have some people who talk to me weekly, some people that talk to me once every 6 months. It just really depends on the person and what they're up for.
Sure. And then do you give them homework?
Usually.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, there's stuff
Usually, yes.
to do. Yeah.
Even if it's just to nurture themselves.
Sure.
So I have integrated in the Noetic work a lot of the self-compassion and the reparenting that I do. That actually, here I talk about in this. I'll put my book up here.
Yeah, I was going to say, tell us
Beyond the Shot.
Tell us your books. Yeah, Beyond the Shot.
Beyond the Shot is an evolution of what I started in the loving diet. And it really works with a compassionate inquiry. It's not Noetic field balancing, but it is a compassionate inquiry using and teaching the skills of self-compassion to understand what it is that you believe and why, and then the power of reparenting yourself to help engage the heart into helping to dissolve the belief systems that are driving people's relationship with food that are keeping them safe.
Right. Yeah, I wanted to back up and just elaborate. So beyond the shot being the GLPs, correct? Yeah.
Correct.
I don't want to confuse them with GPT, but
it is for people who are on GLP-1 medications like Ozempic and Wegovy and tirzepatide. And it is to help them take a deeper step into their relationship with food, to help them understand and get in touch with who I call it the inner eater.
Yeah.
And the inner eater has had experiences in life that tend to be really challenging, that come along with issues around weight and eating. So, for instance, a lot of people are maybe bullied when they're younger, and being bullied might cause them to use food. They turn to food for comfort, and they never quite know or understand what the original belief system was that happened, for instance, when they were bullied, that is driving their real relationship with food, themselves, and life.
Sure.
So it's a how-to book that takes people through. When people are on GLP-1 medications, many times I hear that they are thinking less about food, that they are getting a break from all the food noise. For the first time in their life, they're not thinking about food around the clock. They feel calmer, their brains feel clearer. And I tell my clients it's a perfect opportunity to look at start unpacking all of the things that have happened to them up until the point of getting that relief. And so, it's like one of those things where the hardest time to work on depression might be when you were in a depressive episode.
Yeah.
The hardest time to work on your anxieties when you're having a panic attack. And so the same thing goes true for GLP-1 medications, that so many people are feeling relief, freedom, expansion. And so that is the perfect time to start unpacking some of the deeper things that led their hard relationship with food.
Yeah, not right after you've binge ate the 3 pints of Haagen-Dazs is not usually a good time to work on that stuff.
I mean, it could be, but I find that for most, it's not.
But that's beautiful. I love that because, it's my belief that at our core, our bodies know how to heal themselves. And in line with what you're saying, there are these sticky things that get stuck in our auric field that are preventing the natural healing intelligence from doing what it needs to do, especially with regard to food. I mean, sugar has been a constant nemesis of mine, and I've dove deep in with medicines, with psychedelics, with therapy, with sacred sexuality, all the things, And there's still that hook there. There's still that little voice. So,
Well, how do you feel about the voice?
how do I feel about the voice? I don't know if is it a voice? It's a voice. Yeah, I mean,
Or the part of you that loves sugar?
yeah, it's not a it's not, I guess it's not a voice as much as it's the warm hug, the warm dopamine release hug that I get from sugar, because sugar was growing up was a substitute for love. It was, we're going on a road trip because we drove around. We moved a lot. We drove around, visit relatives. So, here's a Reese's peanut butter and a pack of Lifesavers, sit in the back and be quiet, right? It was going to grandparents' house, well-meaning grandparents' house, but who came down through the lineage of having a great grandfather as a baker. And so it was food, right? It was sugar, it
Yeah.
was Kringle, it was cookies, it was brownies. So going to Granny's meant you got brownies. It was watching Mom, who had always had a drawer full of Hershey bars and real Coke back in the day in bottles. So there's all these reinforcing things around that. I mean, I used to when I was about fifth, sixth grade, I would snatch the brownie mix from the kitchen, take a measuring cup and put hot water in it and mix the powder and make like brownie paste and eat it. Yeah, because it was like, I didn't have a lot of physical affection growing up. Again, this not to put blame on anybody. It's just the way it was, and so the body craves that stuff. And there's a story around there, and there's a neural pathway. There's a wiring. It's not the same high that you get when you smoke weed, but it's a very, very subtle, low level feeling of just kind of like ooh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think I would imagine, Matt, that thousands of people really resonate with that.
Yeah.
And they feel the same way, have experiences similar to that. I certainly remember the first time, heartbroken after my parents divorced. I sat in a closet. I wrote about this in my book. Sat in the closet and ate Cracker Jacks. To get when in the Cracker Jacks, the prize was at the bottom,
of course.
And I didn't want to cheat, and so I ate box after box and like made myself sick.
Wow.
But I wanted to not cheat, but I wanted the prize. But then I couldn't understand why I felt relief. It was like one of the first times I didn't feel sorrow and pain and heartbreak over my parents being divorced. I felt full.
You felt full.
Yeah. And so it's interesting because then, we get to look at how we judge these places in our life, and so we get to create a more cooperative relationship with the parts of us that seek comfort and food rather than judging them.
Yeah. And I find that it's a spiral. It's like you feel like you're going back and forth, but I can see how each time that I kind of step away from it, I'm moving, to a higher place, a better relationship with it. And times like this, the holidays are often can be especially challenging because of all the cues that exist around it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you work with people in this whole gamut of nutritional issues, like you said, all the way from evaluating stool samples and supplement recommendations, all the way to the actual energetic underpinnings of the problems.
I do.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It's so fascinating because I found that I would say 65%, 70% of the people that I work with don't want to do the inner work. And I can really understand that because it's the scariest thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
And so a bulk of my practice is the stuff that people feel really comfortable with. Tell me what test to take. How do I ask my doctor for this? What supplements should I be on? How do I interpret my stool test? How do I look at my organics acid test? And I do that really well. I love doing it. And then some people want to do a deeper inquiry. Oh, maybe there's something more behind my disordered eating or my autoimmune disease or my cancer diagnosis or my menopause symptoms.
Right.
And so I feel incredibly honored that I've been well prepared to do both.
Yeah. Yeah.
For those who want it and those who don't.
Yeah, that's amazing, because we do have a very specialized, siloed world that we live in, especially when it comes to medical and mental advice. Everybody's got their little lane that they drive in.
Yes, I do love patient advocacy. It's something that I just find is really empowering for people when they can really advocate for what they want with their doctors and learn how to have compassionate conversations with their doctors
and themselves.
And themselves, yes, because it always starts with ourselves first.
Yeah, and that's been the theme of the show so far, is that there are energetic underpinnings to all of these things. They don't exist in a vacuum. These
correct
so-called disorders, whatever, symptoms, disorders, et cetera. It's got something energetic, emotional behind it. I mean, unless you get hit by a car, but even that's arguably there.
Yeah. As my teacher says, it's all here to get us into our loving. So we are incredible creators, and we create, we create a lot of the things in our life to, in the end, help us remember that we were always whole, no matter what's happened to us. We don't have to strive for wholeness. We don't have to strive for enlightenment. It's more of a remembering, or what I would call like a leaning in.
Yeah, I love that. You don't have to strive.
I remember that one of the first times that happened to me, I had done all the spiritual work, and my daughter and I were on an airplane, and a man died in front of us of a cardiac arrest. Like on the plane, we had to emergency land. It was very traumatic, and my daughter was 5, and like that stuck with me. And but here I was thinking, like, I meditate and I'm evolving, and then like a few years later, I'm on an airplane, and a woman is walking down the aisle, and she just collapses right in the aisle. And I remember I like panicked. I mean, I literally panicked, and I was starting to have a panic attack, like hyperventilating of like, oh my God, oh no, somebody else is going to die on an airplane. And I remember the judgment that came forward of like, well, if you were really spiritual, you wouldn't be having that panic attack.
Yeah.
And I just remember now, I'm like, I laugh about it of like, oh, so you think you need to get someplace in order to be in touch with your wholeness. Yeah. You don't need to get anywhere.
Right.
My job is really to not judge when those things come forward and present themselves.
Yeah.
And so now I'm like, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That
right.
was really scary.
Yeah.
A lady fainted in the
plane
on the airplane, and I thought she was going to die too.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's like, I love Ram Dass's quote. He said, when you think you're really spiritual, go have Thanksgiving with your family. Right.
Amen to that.
I mean, and there's everything just gets thrown up at you.
Yeah.
All of this stuff.
It's true.
Well, Jessica, thank you so much. I know you have another appointment to get to. I really appreciate the time that you spent with us today. It's always great to see you.
Thanks, Matt.
And
it was really great to talk to you.
Yeah, and we'll have all the links. Just tell us your website.
The Loving Diet.
TheLovingDiet.com.
All of my social handles, TikTok, Instagram, my website, it's all TheLovingDiet.com.
TheLovingDiet.com. So you can get in touch with Jessica that way. And I will leave you to your beautiful sunny day as I go out into the snow here in Chicago.
Oh, I will trade you, though. I love the snow. I miss it.
The snow is fun. It's a great contrast. So thanks again, Jessica. Great to see you.
All right, Matt. Take care.
All right.
Good to see you.